Welcome to Chapter 2, Business Ethics and Social Responsibility. Ethical behavior offers significant advantages. Society as a whole benefits. Executives who behave ethically have happier, more fulfilled lives, and unethical behavior can destroy a company and the individuals who engage in it. Milton Friedman said that the one and only social responsibility of business is to increase its profits. Dayton Hudson, on the other hand, said that the business of business is serving society, not just making money. Doing the right thing may not generate the greatest profit, but over the long haul, it will lead to the greatest personal satisfaction and fulfillment. Ethics is the study of what constitutes right and wrong behavior. It focuses on morality and the application of moral principles in everyday life. Business ethics focuses on what constitutes ethical behavior in the world of business. It's not a separate kind of ethics, however. An understanding of business ethics is important to the long-run viability of a business, the well-being of its officers and directors, as well as the welfare of its employees. The minimal acceptable standard for ethical business behavior is compliance with the law. Ethical standards, such as those in a company's policies or code of ethics, must also guide decisions. But simply obeying the law does not necessarily make the business practice ethical. When can something be ethical but illegal? Here are some examples. Those who helped slaves to escape their legal owners in the mid-19th century performed illegal but ethical acts. And also those who refused to testify against their friends during the McCarthy hearings. Once again, their acts were illegal but ethical. Or perhaps someone using marijuana to ease the suffering of cancer. When can something be legal but unethical? One example is when low-income minority families, single mothers, or the elderly are persuaded to take loans priced way beyond their means, and these loans are secured upon their homes. Eviction is often the price of default. The unsophisticated and uninformed are the most preyed upon. There's little real evidence that ethical behavior can increase profit or that unethical behavior decreases profits, so why bother? Society as a whole can benefit by encouraging economic competition. No one wants to compete with unfair competitors. Also, people feel better when they behave ethically. And lastly, unethical behavior can be costly if there's a public outrage leading to a boycott. Some ethics dilemmas are black and white. Many others are gray, however. This ethics checklist above, and also the one in your text, will help you make some of these decisions. Here are some questions to ask yourself in order to ensure ethical behavior. Is more than one alternative right? Which values are in conflict and which ones are the most important? Can you find an alternative that is consistent with your own values, not just that of your business? Businesses often have a few different choices they can make when deciding how ethically they're going to behave. For example, when it comes to whether or not a business will engage in sexual or racial exploitation in their advertising, they can decide to do one of the four following things. 1. Completely refuse to create any ads that are even potentially offensive. 2. Include a systematic, focused review of underlying messages as part of the development process. 3. Try to minimize exploitation, but use it somewhat, since omitting this aspect from ads may lead to decreased sales. And 4. Ignore ethics and try to create ads that sell the most product, no matter what the underlying message is. To understand the complexity of decisions in the business world, you should be able to identify the stakeholders of a typical business organization. A partial list would include shareholders, employees, vendors, customers, communities in which the business has facilities, and state and local governments. You probably recognize that a typical business decision will be unlikely to satisfy all of them. Balancing all of these interests may be difficult, which is why the ethics checklist is a useful template for identifying the components necessary to make informed and ethical business decisions. Businesses may also have obligations to maintain high ethical standards in foreign countries, even when local laws don't mandate it. Often, complaints and criticisms from people in the United States have the greatest impact on companies, Nike for example, in not using sweatshops in foreign countries to create products. Just as a business has ethical obligations to its stakeholders and its employees, employees also have an ethical obligation to the company they work for. Some questions employees have to consider are: is it fair to take advantage of free company perks? And should an employee be made to account for every minute of paid time? To understand the complexity of decisions in the business world, you should be able to identify the stakeholders of a typical business organization. A partial list would include shareholders, employees, vendors, customers, communities in which the business has facilities, and state and local governments. This list is in contrast to a list of stakeholders affected by a person's non-business decisions, for example, family, friends, and neighbors. You should recognize that a typical business decision will affect more stakeholders and be unlikely to satisfy all of them. Balancing all of these interests may be difficult, which is why the ethics checklist is a useful template for identifying the components necessary to make informed and ethical business. A number of contexts within the employer-employer relationship are fraught with ethical considerations, such as having a system in place to detect, eliminate, prevent, and punish behavior of a harassing nature toward employees. American companies must be trained in cross-cultural business practices. What's more, corporate watch groups can disseminate information instantly around the world. Many businesses, as well as citizens, are concerned about the rights and the treatment of foreign workers who make goods imported and sold in the United States by U.S. firms. Should a United States firm refuse to deal with certain suppliers or make arrangements to monitor their workplaces to make sure that the workers are not being mistreated? There's a lot of debate over this issue in the business arena. Side payments to government officials in exchange for favorable business contracts are not unusual in some countries, nor are they considered to be unethical. This is why the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act was established. In the United States, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act of 1977 prohibits U.S. business persons from bribing foreign officials to secure advantageous contracts. Accountants, in particular, may be subject to penalties for making false statements in records or accounts. Business firms may be fined up to $2 million, and individuals can be fined up to $100,000 and imprisoned for 5 years. Ethical standards are subjective. They are derived from personal religious beliefs or philosophical assumptions concerning the nature of goodness, fairness, rightness, or justice. Each of us decides what we will believe and how to act on those beliefs. Even employees who are ethical in their personal lives may find it difficult to uphold their standards at work if those around them behave differently. The surest way to infuse ethics throughout a company is for top executives to behave ethically themselves. Here's Enron's growth and demise in a nutshell. Managers took advantage of accounting standards to overestimate future earnings, which resulted in inflated reports of current earnings. To maintain these exaggerations, the company created subsidiaries to which it could shift unreported losses and assets with inflated values. Many of these shifts occurred outside the United States to avoid federal income taxes. When questioned, management refused to investigate and reveal financial improprieties. Unethical conduct resulted in the single largest bankruptcy of a United States business firm. This misconduct affected the firm's managers, employees, suppliers, and shareholders, and the community and society in general. Here's a brief history of Merck and Vioxx. In 1999, in an expedited review, the Food and Drug Administration approved Merck & Company's marketing of Vioxx for the relief of acute pain. When negative side effects soon became apparent and later studies confirmed the risks, Merck took the drug off the market. Merck tried to minimize all the ill effects, but the FDA required it to correct, in letters to physicians, false and misleading impressions and information. Merck's position was generally that Vioxx was safe unless proved otherwise, and it preferred not to test the drug to uncover any proof otherwise. But by the time Merck had lost its first Vioxx suit, many other claims had been filed against the company in state and federal courts. At what point does a corporation have an ethical duty to act when confronted with evidence that its product may be harmful? Though profit can be a clear motivator for people acting unethically, ethical behavior offers significant advantages. Society as a whole benefits. Executives who behave ethically have happier, more fulfilled lives, and unethical behavior can destroy a company.